The expectations were not very high to begin with when it came to Madam Web. Yet another movie set in the Sony Spider-Man universe that has no Spider-Man in it. And as soon as people saw the trailer with the cringe dialogue, the poor acting, and just overall what looked to be another girl boss team-up movie following the Marvels, people really had very little interest in this thing. But even with those very low expectations for this movie, it's even worse than anyone could have possibly expected. Here we are, 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score, those who actually went and gave it a chance, isn't looking much better either. When you look at the all audience, it's down at 43%. And everywhere you look, Madam Web is getting completely and totally annihilated. Not just when it comes to the bad reviews, the poor reviews from both critics and audiences alike, with some people trying to explain them away. Madam Web's bad reviews explain 6 biggest criticisms. The movie sucks. Like, bottom line, I did a very short out of the theater review over on RK Outpost Live. You guys can go check that out. I'll put it in the pinned comment down below. But this is not some example of, oh, they're just hitting you over the head with agenda this and identity politics that. It is just a bad fucking movie, from the acting to the dialogue to the pacing to the editing to some of the cinematography decisions to the motivations for some of these characters. Nearly all of it is just a complete and total nightmare. And now we're seeing the ramifications of that at the box office. Madam Web box office hits record low for Sony Spider-Man movies. Yes, even worse than Morbius. And we expected it to do a little worse than Morbius. I don't know if people were really thinking it was going to be this bad over a 6-day weekend. Again, you get the early start on Valentine's Day. You got President's Day on Monday. You got a 6-day opening for this thing. And right now, it's tracking at $24 million. That is disastrous on a whole nother level. To put it in perspective, something like Morbius, right? Maybe Sony should have done a Morbius sequel instead. Marvel's Madam Web is in a class of her own. A web of disaster, if we're being honest, with weekend debut of just 13 million for the normal weekend, 24 million over its first 6 days. The Morbius made around, I think, 36 to 39 million, somewhere around there in its opening weekend. We're talking about 24 million for Madam Web on a long weekend. And if you're just taking that normal 3-day, 13 million fucking dollars. Now, when some people said they didn't think this movie would make $100 million overall worldwide at the box office, I kind of said, no, I'm sure it'll get to that. I'm sure, the question will be, does it get to, $120, $130 million, somewhere in that Blue Beetle range? No. This is legitimately now, with this terrible of an opening, this might be a movie that does not crack $100 million worldwide. And despite the critics lambasting this thing, you do have some people doing their best to try to defend the movie, to try to defend maybe what Dakota Johnson said on the media tour. The media tour was wild because, honestly, Dakota Johnson just, says whatever she wants. I think a lot of what she says has been pretty funny, honestly. But there's been a lot of quotes out there that make people feel that she knew this was kind of going to be a nightmare. We saw that she fired her agent right after this trailer. We saw the old Instagram post where she tagged Marvel Studios, even though Marvel Studios isn't actually involved in this. Not just her, Sydney Sweeney did the same thing. And now you got the mainstream coming out to try to defend her, to say people are just twisting her words. That's why nobody's interested in seeing the movie. No, people aren't interested in, one, because the trailer looked terrific. Coming off the Marvels, it looked like another cringe girl boss team-up movie. And if I'm being honest, as horrifically bad as this movie is, I'd probably rather just watch it and laugh at it than the Marvels. I'm not even going to lie. I'd probably rather watch Madam Web again than watch the Marvels, even though it's a horrifically bad movie in nearly every aspect. But the real reason, it's because the marketing was terrible. The trailer was awful. People do not care about these characters. And at the end of the day, you got a bunch of these characters with spider powers in a universe where you're never seeing Spider-Man, in this Sony Spider-Man universe. So for a lot of people, they're not going to be engaged in it. You're already on the back foot there, but the reality is you made a terrible fucking movie. In the same way that Morbius is a bad movie, this is also a bad movie. It's from the same writers as well. But as bad as we all thought it would be, I don't know if anybody expected a 13% critic score coming out of this. And as bad as we thought the box office would be, I'm not sure anyone could have predicted a $24 million 6-day weekend. Only $13 million over the traditional weekend. A bomb of epic proportions for Madam Web. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.